is muted. Oh.
He is here. It is muted. Everybody, welcome back to the Triple R podcast. Thanks for coming back. If it's your first time, I'm sorry about that. But it is an honor and a privilege today. This is a guest episode. We convinced my longtime buddy and musician, Mikey V, to come on the show. Mike, welcome to the show. Give us a quick, let everybody know, first off, where can they find you?
You mean
social medias?
Okay, like I'm in Omaha. That I'm not.
No. What's your home address?
Yes. After we just got through saying we're not going to dox him.
No, you made it very clear that you were going to actually.
Yeah, we will. Yes. We certainly will. All of his information, right of course, like always, is in the bio. Go ahead and click the info to take you to the dark web. Go ahead and claim his identity as your own. You're ready to roll. Yep. No, where can people find? Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, let's see. TikTok, I'm the real Mike Vicious. Also, that's my handle on Instagram. And yeah, just search Mike Vicious on Facebook. I got an artist page and my personal page is content creator. So
beautiful.
I'm out there, bro. And then, of course, I got the music on the Spotify and the YouTubes and the Apple Music. So. Fat Ass Records.
Shout out Apple and Spotify.
For sure. So, yeah, I got all my...
Fat Ass Records, you said? Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, you're good, man. So, start
and
there.
That's PHA?
Yes, PHATA $.
Hey,
money.
H to the $sign.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so I figure this way anybody who wants to check you out can do that right up top.
Yeah, and I got an OnlyFans
we're not.
Too.
Oh,
that's perfect.
I don't.
What is it? Feet pics or?
There's a lot of feet, yes, but
yeah, a lot of feet, a lot of armpits. I'm pretty sure there's one nostril shot if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of.
Damien is the only subscriber.
It's an OnlyFans page because I'm the only fan.
There you go.
Just onlyfan.com.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this will help. You might get a couple of my family members.
Because that's the only people who listen, apparently.
Ready to blow it up. Anyways, yeah. So that's the intro. I do also want to shout out Oasis Falafel. That's kind of the impetus of our relationship. I guess we knew each other a little bit before that, but quick backstory. I worked on a barbecue food truck that shall remain nameless. And I worked there for a little while, and Mike got hired to come on as the chef. And essentially we hit it off immediately because of our love of The Big Lebowski.
Yes.
And it was kind of it kind of just proceeded from there, and 311. So
bless you.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I know you're a busy man. Between, I think you're at work right now, which actually explains why you have the 1980s filter on. We're assuming that it's because you want to stay hidden. We'll drop your voice lower, so it's like on those crime shows where people don't want to be known. Yeah, they don't want to be known as a snitch. So.
See, I thought the case was he was stuck in 1992 at a Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
With the background there, and the only camera is the giant ones with the VHS tape. Somehow he rigged it up to connect to the internet, and he's just.
Yeah. Is it the pre Pizza Hut buffet or post Pizza Hut buffet? Because let's be honest, that Pizza Hut buffet is the business.
It was the buffet era, but I was definitely here for the book it single personal pizza.
Yes.
Fuck yeah, dude. I never understood. Okay, now that we're talking about that brings up a good question that I've always had. So essentially, it was if you read a certain amount of books, you get a free pizza, right?
Yes.
How the fuck do they verify that?
They don't.
I don't know, man. That was
I
back in the
think
day. Honor system.
I
It
think the
was done
premise was
at
like
school.
it was
Yeah.
like you got a free like personal pizza for
Yes.
yourself,
Yes.
and then it's like it was a whole marketing campaign of being like they're not just
Oh,
going to
for
come
sure.
for a pizza, like a small personal pizza. They're going to
Right.
bring the entire family, and the family's going to get a large.
Yes.
So it was to get you in the
That is what
door.
happened. That's
Damien,
what
with
happened.
your food experience, I feel like you should know this. You
Yeah,
idiot.
that was before my time in the food business. Unfortunately, I was 6. I wasn't quite into the food business yet.
You weren't breaking child labor laws?
Only about 8 years to go on that one. Anyways, so I know our time is limited, and I want to make the most of it while we have a very esteemed and special guest. So I was
Oh,
thinking, if it's all right with you, Mike, if we kind of ask you some questions that we have not been able to really break out yet, and kind of
ooh.
use that to not only get to know you, but see if we can uncover some stories about you.
All right, bring it on, baby. That's what I'm here for.
All
You
right.
did have to convince me to
So
do this, though.
I'm decently convincing.
You got me this far.
Yeah, exactly. I got you on here. That's step
Mhm.
one. So, real quick, the premise of the show, in case you or anybody who's coming to see this episode because you're on it, the impetus of the show is it's called Remain, Rome, Return. It's essentially because I moved away from my hometown, which is the Rome portion. Christian is a returner, which means he moved away from his hometown and has since come back. And then on the other part of that is remain. So it's for people who have remained in their hometown up until this day. And so I wanted to ask, which one are you? First of all, are you a remainer, roamer, or returner?
I'd say technically I would fall under the returner category. And we can get into the
Okay,
fine
okay.
details of that. We go.
So this is our first returner of the podcast,
Nice.
actually.
It
So
is.
you and Christian have a lot in common here. So I had a whole list of questions because I forgot. I thought you were a roamer like me. So I came up with a lot of questions
Well,
to ask you in regard to that.
I think they'll still be relevant because I intend to roam in the not too distant future. So, current status is a returner.
Right on. Okay. Okay.
Oh, we're gonna get deep with it.
Okay.
Okay. Right on.
But looking to change that.
Looking to change
Yes.
it. Yes, absolutely. Which is
Back after this
technically
combo, I'm
also
sure.
a win. He logs out and immediately moves to Canada.
Yes.
Oh, I'm exploring all my options right now.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, LA, somebody in LA. So
I'm actually wearing my LA
I guess
hat.
in that case,
It's funny.
Christian, I wish I could see it.
Well, it's like the
We are
black
blurring
and
you
white.
out for your safety.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Christian, I want to actually, since this is kind of a win in your category, maybe I'll see if you have any like a starter question for him, since he's technically one of you.
Yeah. So Mike, what made you return to your hometown?
Well, I think to put it in context, I'll let you know. I grew up in Council Bluffs, right? The
Gross,
broader
but
Omaha.
yes.
Well, thanks. Uh, whatever. I'm used to it. But
No worries.
it was cool growing up there. I had a good childhood. Went to school at Abraham Lincoln. Graduated class of '01. I was 18 and decided to go to the University of Iowa. I'm wearing a Hawkeyes jersey or sweaty hoodie,
Mhm.
and so I grew up in the Omaha metro, but it was on the Iowa side. So
Mhm.
so for in-state college tuition, I had Iowa State or Northern Iowa or University of Iowa, and Iowa City was the best choice, obviously, for me at least.
Yeah.
And so I did go to college didn't graduate, but ended up staying there in Iowa City for a total of 15 years plus. So
Wow.
Oh wow. Okay.
just fell in love with the town, and also basically I had every intention of leaving Council Bluffs as soon as I was able to, and that was the best opportunity for a next step. And that's when I ended up cooking for a job. You know, that wasn't my intention. My intention was to get involved in the hip hop scene, which I did. AV Collective was born there, and that's the
Nice.
time when Z Effective is me and two other guys from Council Bluffs, and they went to Ames, to Iowa State University. So
Mhm.
it was this long distance trifecta where we were recording and linking up and making it work. So so that was a great experience overall. Um, let's see. So I was cooking at Mickey's Irish Pub and Jimmy Jack's Rib Shack in Iowa City, and doing the music thing. I end up running into an old acquaintance, this girl from back home, went to the same high school, and we hit it off and ended up getting married and stayed out there, bought a house in Riverside, Iowa, which is the future birthplace of Captain James T. Kirk of Star Trek lore.
Yes, yes.
And that's still about 100 years out and some change. But
Yeah.
Shout out Star Trek.
Yes.
and technically, my son Calvin, his hometown is Riverside, although he was born at the University Hospital in Iowa City,
Mhm.
and that was in 2011. So, you know, I kept cooking. I worked for UNFI for a couple years, and then got back into the culinary scene. Um, and you know, as I was getting a little older and young family started, I had to take things a little more seriously in terms of
Mhm.
building some wealth, and that's when I kind of had this entrepreneurial spark and wanted to open my own place. So Kelly was down, we had all these ideas, and I started studying, you know, a lot of business and entrepreneurial
Mhm.
books, um, and then talking to other successful businesses and restaurants in the area, and owners and chefs, and you know, just absorbing as much information as I could to make this kind of thing happen, you know, and then there's the financial aspect of it too. So those were like some lofty goals, but it was, you mentioned Oasis earlier, and I happened to, which is an Iowa City restaurant
Mhm.
originally. So long story short, we had this wild idea to open a restaurant, and I ended up approaching the Oasis guys, and we decided to go into business together to open a second Oasis location in Omaha.
That's pretty cool.
So that was kind
And
of the bigger idea, and that's kind of what brought us back to the homeland, if you will.
what year was it when you came back to Omaha again?
That would have been 2017. So,
2017.
and
And
in
now,
fact, exactly 7 years ago, it was May of 2017 when we sold our house in Riverside and
yeah, and then
moved the whole
did
thing
you
home.
start right at BGQ at that point? Was that your first gig
Yes,
back?
that was. I had that lined up before I even moved. So, but as you know, that only
Okay,
lasted a couple
yeah.
of weeks because of the shenanigans.
there
The
But but it
shenanigans.
worked out.
there was quite a few shenanigans.
Not that
Can
week
we? Can
though.
we? Are you legally allowed to talk about the shenanigans?
Well, maybe we should choose different
Well,
letters.
let's just start off by saying, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say I think I doxed the company anyways, but they are no longer operating, so who really gives a shit? They are shut down. But
Suffice to say that it wasn't the best quality of leadership and management, and
he's talking about me, of course.
yeah, dude. Like, I appreciate the Big Lebowski quotes, but other than that, I hated your guts, dude. Fuck out of there. But that was
Yeah,
also
yeah, he had to leave.
It's got to be interesting especially like in a food truck, having a manager, because like he's literally over your shoulder just because he has nowhere else to fucking stand, right?
Oh no, let's clear this up right away. I was the like kitchen manager. He was my boss.
Oh,
Mike was my boss technically.
Yeah, but that was a good fit. The ownership was the problem. But
Yeah. So it
you
wasn't
know,
necessarily a leadership issue. It was more of the ownership issue.
right. Their lack of leadership and
yeah.
Yeah.
organization and shit like that. But
Did
it doesn't
you?
matter.
Did either of
It
you
was
get to
literally just
drive the
2 weeks.
truck?
I
What
would
happened?
not. Domer did that shit. I would never. No, I still can't believe you did that. Honestly, like that thing was so ginormous.
Driving it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a
Food
good
You
truck.
time.
remember we went up to Boys Town and we saw that like military weather plane from Offutt like floating in the air, and we had just like smoked a little herbage, and I just thought it was World War III, and like, oh dude, it was the freakiest thing. It was just like floating, and like it was surreal. I did not appreciate that shit.
Yeah, my self-preservation instincts kicked in, and I was like, "Well, at least we got briskets for the troops to protect us."
Right. Honestly, we we were probably set up for survival at least more than the
Also,
masses were.
maybe I shouldn't admit to smoking marijuana while driving a 7,000-pound food truck, but a fucking basically
That's the
a
industry for it.
U-Haul with a U-Haul with a fryer and a bunch of fire in the back. You know,
The whole concept
whatever.
is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Like all food trucks, when you think about it, is a interesting concept of, yes, like, you know what's good to have? Mobile kitchens that have
Yeah.
heavy, like the
What could
heaviest
go
things
wrong?
in your home: refrigerators, stove, sinks. Yes, let's put the heaviest things of your home in a moving vehicle.
Where,
And also,
hundreds of thousands of accidents happen every single day on the road.
oh, and not to mention just the main, like both of these things independent of each other. Like commercial kitchens,
Yeah.
there's always something breaking and needing repaired.
Mm-hmm.
Same with motorized vehicles. Like there's constant maintenance on these things, so it's like
And
it's just a money pit.
my favorite part of running a food truck is to go hand in hand with what you're talking about. Not only do you need to be a real professional to run that kitchen, I
Right.
didn't think about the fact that I also have to be a fucking mechanic. And I am not a fucking mechanic.
And you should probably
So
have a
anytime something
CCL.
happened, I'd have to call the owners.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I may as well get a forklift license at this point.
Honestly,
But
You're not sure what kind of oil is on your hands at that point. You're like,
yeah,
is this canola or WD-40 or?
yeah, the amount of times we accidentally switched them out.
Guys, we're out of the cooking oil. Just grab
Take
it
it from the engine, man. We're in the weeds here.
Gross.
Oh god, yeah. So those are the types of shenanigans, Christian. To answer your question, they were every day, all day long, and they were supplemented during the downtimes with randomly placed Lebowski quotes. So
I like it. I like it.
Throughout the day, for sure. Yeah, that was
yeah,
crazy. It was
yeah,
just 2 weeks that we worked together, but yeah, homies for life, you know.
goddamn
Hmm?
right. And I
Also,
was like, if we're gonna
you
have
got married
any,
during that time.
yeah, yes, I did. Yep, June 2017, actually, which actually our
June 3rd, I
7-year
believe.
anniversary. Yeah, 7-year anniversary upcoming. So by the time that this comes out, it'll be long gone. But
Well,
anyway,
happy anniversary.
so I do have a question. I do have a question for you to get back on track a little bit.
Well, he didn't finish talking about his restaurant he opened.
Oh, well,
Oh yeah, that's right.
let me sum it over. Well, after the couple weeks working at the Q there, I shopped around for some other jobs. I worked at Kitchen Table for a little bit downtown, which was cool. But ultimately, I got a job at Midtown Hy-Vee, which is right by my house on 52nd Street there in Center.
That's
And
right.
yeah, so I held that down as we were putting the pieces together for the restaurant and finding the location. We eventually did find the spot there on Harney Street, 16th and Harney downtown by the Orpheum
Oh
Theater.
shit.
Yeah, dude. And we made it happen, man. We opened and um, it was successful in terms of the fact that we fucking pulled it off and started getting a solid customer base and Oasis is just amazing food to begin with. So all I did
Yeah.
was replicate the concept and we hit it out of the park and it fit right in there in the scene and
Mhm.
yeah, so like we had a good 18 months and then COVID happened and flipped everything on its head and
Oh.
we were able to push through. We also had product in grocery stores that helped us a lot and we did like caterings and family meals and things like that. But
Mhm.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but didn't you get in with Hy-Vee to sell the hummus?
yes, well the guys in Iowa City were already doing that, so it was fairly easy to
Oh,
continue that
okay.
operation here in the further west and now they actually have
Yeah, that was really cool to see.
oh yeah, it was a great experience and you can still get it too. There's a co-packer they signed with and they actually get distributed to
Oh
all the
shit. Yeah.
Hy-Vees. Yeah, it's a huge
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, that was really cool to see, and also that place that you had on Harney was, I mean, just such a knockout of not only placement within the city, but
Mhm.
the actual design and the setup and the space that you had for that restaurant was just so perfect. Um, I remember helping you set that thing up, and I was just like, dude, you guys are gonna fucking
Oh
nail
man,
this,
yeah,
and you
we
did.
had a good run. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, as you know,
And then of
unfortunately,
course
we did close it.
COVID fucked it up.
Sadly, yeah, we'll blame it on COVID.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so it goes. But it was a great experience, and I regret nothing.
Yeah,
Yes.
no,
Well,
that's
you
cool.
shouldn't.
Like, you did it because, like, half of this podcast we talk about a lot, especially for the people who are roamers. Of a lot of people want to do it, or like, I used to give shit to Damien because Damien always was like, "I'm moving to LA," and we're like, "No, you're not." Like, and that's how I kind of feel like sometimes with people with restaurants. They're like, "Yeah, I have this great idea for a restaurant," or like, I want to open a restaurant, and people don't do it. And you actually did it, and we've talked about, me and Damien have talked about this in episode before this, but like, people are so scared by failure that
Yeah.
it like immobilizes them. And so, like, mad respect for you for actually fucking do it. Like, you know, you did it. It maybe, didn't turn out the way you would want it to, but you still did it. And that's so, like, admirable, I think is the word.
Yeah, and I think real quick, since we're on the corny cheesy lane real fast, I think the biggest problem with the fear of failure is it's not whether or not it's sustained, it's whether or not you put in the effort to do it.
Yeah.
That's success. I don't think that success solely hinges on, oh well, how long did you do it? Oh well, did you meet every goal that came along with that goal? It's like, no, but I did the thing. I started the thing. I accomplished getting it started. Like, I feel like, not to once again sound cheesy, but I've always wanted to do a podcast. I would never really got one started, and now Christian and I are like 14 episodes in. I consider that as a success. We don't have even 100 followers, but we're doing the damn thing. Whether or not it goes anywhere is not the issue for me. We never started this to be, professionals or anything. We started it to
Maybe
have
you
fun.
didn't. No.
Yeah, that's the only reason he's here. Once again, I'm a little convincing. I promised him a paycheck.
You keep saying checks in the mail, but
No,
Yeah, yeah. So,
unsolicited. Well, I agree with you
anyways,
wholeheartedly about the success
Yeah.
journey. It is having pursuing of something that you want. That's success in and of itself. It's a process.
Hmm.
It's not a one and done thing. It's not a plaque on the wall.
Correct.
It's it's just getting out there and going for it. I
Yeah, it's
agree,
the effort you
guys,
put into it. Yeah.
and I really
So
appreciate
real quick,
you.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course.
Yeah.
And
No worries.
so really quick, because I want to get into the music thing, because obviously I'm a fan, I'm a friend, I'm loving following the journey. But I do have a quick question, kind of regarding the theme of the podcast, which is, had you stayed in Iowa, what do you think your life would look like now compared to how it looks like in the current day?
If I had stayed in Iowa City
Yeah,
and not come back to the metro,
yeah. Had you
honestly,
stayed in Iowa City,
well, I guess if I had stayed in Iowa City, it would be assumed that I would stay in our house in Riverside, which is about a 15-minute drive south of the town. So,
Hmm.
and we had a sweet gig there, a couple acres of land, got like the rural feel, had the gardening and the pets and with Calvin, he was in kindergarten when we left. So, and he's about to turn 13 now, and he's got like 3 days left of seventh grade, if you can believe that. So, had
that's
I
crazy,
stayed,
man.
right, so he would have a hugely different experience for
Yeah.
one, being in that small town, about to start high school. Um, I think that hmm, the way that things were going, because I had mentioning music, like some notoriety. It was a great scene in those early 2000s, and AV Collective had an awesome run there. But those guys just moved to Phoenix, and they're still out there, which I do want to get into future possibilities of roaming, and Phoenix is definitely on the
Mhm.
list. I got a lot of friends and family out there, and I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have
But
both me and Damien have a ton of friends out in Phoenix now.
yeah,
Yeah,
Phoenix
I'm,
is
I'm in
dope, man.
Phoenix like once, at least once a year.
When
Yeah.
I visited
So
LA,
yeah,
yeah, I drove to Phoenix. It's super, super tight
yeah,
out there.
it's not too bad. What is it, like 5.5 hours?
Yeah, about that, depending on how fucking fast you go, I guess. But
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're driving a food truck or not.
how high you are.
Yeah, so I guess now we can kind of, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
exactly.
exactly what kind of oil you're running on.
If World War III is about to happen or not.
Brisket for the troops. Hashtag. Clip it.
Clip it.
Um, I guess real fast, just to kind of stay on topic, because I want to. I really, really, really want to get into the music. But
Yes.
real fast, just to cover our bases here, I'll go to another one of my questions here real fast. If you
Okay.
could live, because you're talking about being a roamer in the future, if you could live anywhere, where would it be?
Um,
With
that
nothing stopping
is
you.
that's a great question and kind of a loaded one. Um, because
Yeah.
I have had the
It's the
opportunity to
only kind I know.
travel. Well, don't expect a straightforward answer. I have visited some places that I never had before recently, including Portland, Oregon, and LA. And I mentioned Phoenix, which has always been a consideration. Um, and I also been to Denver a lot recently, which is amazing, and also Miami.
Mhm.
So any of
All
those
over the place.
places,
Yeah.
yeah, I have been very fortunate to visit these places and hook up with a lot of friends and musicians. So I think a lot would depend on not necessarily the place, because all of those places are great and definitely
Mm.
candidates, and also Las Vegas too. Like I have a real good friend who lives in Las Vegas, and I would probably only live there if she stayed there because Las Vegas is kind of whack, honestly, in my opinion. It's just
Yeah,
so
I
crazy.
agree.
But if I had
Yeah.
like some residency as a musician, or I was like got like some contract to work at some higher end restaurants or whatever for a couple of years and make some bank, like I would take that into consideration for sure. But like I said, the AV Collective guys are down in Phoenix. We've always talked about getting that project up and running again, which I think would be fucking choice because like
Yeah.
that was where all the planets aligned was with those boys. So we can get into that a little bit, but yeah, I think any of those aforementioned cities, and Denver is super great too. But it would be nice to live somewhere, Damien, as you know, where it doesn't snow for a change. Having grown up
Yeah.
in the Midwest and dealing with these winters,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
It is
appreciate
nice.
experiencing years round without that shit.
It is nice.
And it's kind of nice with you being in the food industry, all those places you go are going to have opportunities for you, right? Like,
Yeah, generally speaking,
Especially
absolutely.
Vegas.
Definitely, but I
and
mean
so
every town has a scene that you build a resume like I have over these years. You can no doubt get your foot in the door somewhere, but it kind of depends on the sacrifices you're willing to make.
Yeah.
And
you
I gotta
mentioned
reiterate,
you
I never wanted to be a chef. It's just kind of something that fell into my
if
existence. Been
Yep.
paying the bills though.
you did mention you have a family. Do you think your answer changes with that perception? Like
Oh,
one of the main
absolutely.
reasons I moved back to Nebraska after traveling everywhere was because my wife wanted to come back after I dragged her throughout the states.
That's a really good point, and I'm glad you brought it up because I was actually kind of thinking of that when I was answering the previous questions about my journey leaving and then coming back. It's something that, again, neither me or my wife wanted specifically. It was the opportunity and the idea of opening this restaurant that kind of sparked it. Plus, I'm an only child, and
Mhm.
and all of Kelly's family also lived in the Omaha Council Bluffs area. So, with Calvin being so young, and my parents, they would make the trip and everything, but we just, again, family was definitely a motivator to come back to the metro and kind of set up our lives over here anew. And it was also good timing with Calvin being so young, so he can get a bit of an established foundation with his growing
Mhm.
up. And and my mom's in elementary, well, she's long retired, but she taught elementary school for her whole career in Council Bluffs. And I know the school system in CB and also here in Omaha are great. And it's I'm glad that we did it. I definitely would have made
Mhm.
different choices had the family not been a factor. And now that you know things are evolving, and Kelly and I are actually separating, which is fine. By the way, it's been a couple years in the process, and Calvin will be a senior in high school. In 5 years, he'll be about ready to graduate high school. So
Mhm.
when
Yeah.
that happens, I may reevaluate. I intend, of course, on staying around because of him.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I mentioned I was traveling all these places, like I was shopping too. I wasn't just visiting and being entertained. I was
Yeah.
considering the wide range of possibilities of making a big move like that. But I guess for me, as long as I'm making music, it doesn't really matter where I am because all of these places exist to travel and visit and do business in.
And they're always going to be available as an option.
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was a common theme of anyone I talk to who I consider a returner is I would say 90% say they return to their hometown because of or like they started a family, or like they have kids and they want their kids to like grow up near family, or like daycare, I've heard, is very fucking expensive. And so if you can have grandparents help out with that, it
That is
saves
a
you so
troomer.
much money.
For instance, yes. But
That
of
is a
course,
troomer. It's
yeah.
not a truma.
But of course, yes, that is a factor. But then think of my parents as grandparents. They want to have as much time with their grandkid as possible too.
Mhm.
So yeah, my mom was very accepting of our decision to come back,
Yeah.
and
I'm sure.
and also, you'll appreciate this too. We knew we wanted the restaurant to be in Omaha, on the Omaha side of the river, but
Mhm.
Kelly was very adamant about not moving back to Council Bluffs
Yeah.
specifically. So, and I was okay with that. Like, I would have been okay living in Council Bluffs. Um, but honestly, like, I'm really glad that we ended up on this side because that was more of an experience for me. Of course, I grew up right next to Omaha and have a lot of great memories of going to the old market and going to the Ranch Bowl
Mhm.
and
Rest in peace, Ranch Bowl.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah. Russ.
Family Fun Center on 72nd and Dodge. That was always fun. That's where I
Yes.
got my
Yeah.
license. Also, RIP.
It
Shout
is
out.
probably kind of funny to think about. Like, I've had friends who worked in downtown Omaha, kind of like where your restaurant was,
Mm,
but decided to live in Council Bluffs because it was quicker for them, or they live closer living in Council Bluffs to get to work than if they did like live in West Omaha trying to get
right.
to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about, but
And so,
that is true. Oh, damn.
Also
Sorry.
probably
There's
cheaper.
only, yeah, there's
yeah,
a cost of living, but it's really, I mean, honestly, Omaha's great. Like, cost of living wise, period. This whole region.
yeah,
So it was cool living on this side and gaining more experiences as an adult, exploring the communities and also seeing how much has changed and evolved in those 15 years I was gone.
yeah.
I would visit once in a while, but the whole scene just keeps getting elevated. So both the restaurant scene, the music scene, just like these neighborhoods in general, it's dope, despite the stupid winters.
I have since given Omaha its fair due on this podcast. It is a pretty decent place. As much as
Yeah,
I hated it while I lived there, it could also just be the beauty of distance. At this
Yeah.
point, I've been gone for so long and so far away. I think
right.
the only real memories I have are the good ones, probably. And anything that's not a good memory serves as humor and comedy for me. So I think I've been far enough away for long enough to be like, yeah, Omaha's pretty dope. But real fast, one more question that I have, and then we'll see if Christian has any closing
Yeah.
questions about the actual Triple R theme before we get into the really fun stuff of current life. So my last question for you that I have is: do you think that moving away from the hometown, whether it's permanently or temporary, do you think it's necessary to move away in order to like truly find and understand yourself and what you want?
Hmm, that's deep, dude.
That's the one deep question.
The one, yep. It's mostly sillies, and then we hit you hard with a very thought provoking question.
Well, one thing I wanted to say that ties into your question a bit is I think, talking about hating it here and wanting so badly to move and experience different things. Man, I think everyone just ends up hating their hometown if they stay there for too fucking long, or a vast majority at least. I mean, it's got to be a rare instance where someone just loves it at home. I think by and large, what I notice is people who stayed at home, nothing wrong with it. I don't know if they feel stuck or they're just like, this is just the way it is. maybe they don't look into it as deeply as fellas like us.
Mhm.
But like I got friends all over the country. Like my buddy Mike
Yeah.
Walls lives in New York, grew up in New York, and he's moving to South Florida, which we make music together too. And we've discussed like maybe that I'll end up down there with you. But he can't wait to get the fuck out of New York. And here I am from Omaha thinking New York's fucking badass, right? Like
Yeah,
who would want
yeah,
to, but so the perception is different. You always grew up there. It's the same fucking thing over and over. So to circle back to your deep question, my friend, I think I don't know. Everyone's got their own experience, their own path and journey. Um, but those who have traveled tend to tell people they ought to travel. You gotta get these different experiences. Even if
Mhm.
you don't move and live in different places, you gotta get out and experience the different cultures and
Yeah.
landscapes and just the world, man, And I think that is more or less essential to developing a broader perspective and perception of reality and I don't know. I guess you really have to have a sense of purpose to begin with. Um,
Mhm.
and for me at least, to just expand your horizons and have a deeper understanding of life itself. And one thing I love to do, and I get this from my dad a lot too, like I'm not just going to these major cities to find stuff to do. Like I want to see
Mhm.
the countryside, the landscapes,
Yeah.
nature,
correct.
and there's beauty in every nook and cranny of this map. Like we're honestly like as wackadoodle as living in this fucking country is, like the land itself is sacred. It's beautiful and
Yeah,
it's so vast, like
Yeah.
get out there and take advantage.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and it's in those moments that you can really find a little more about yourself, internally. It's not really, for me, it's not like going out and finding something that I was looking for. It's just continuing to connect the dots. And dude, I laid my eyes on the ocean for the first time the day before my 40th birthday, for instance. Like I never traveled. I did with my
Oh
parents. We
shit.
went, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like it blows people's minds when they hear that shit. Especially like my buddy Mike in New York. He lived on fucking Long Island. Like he was on the shore. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I
Yeah.
think
I think
I
that's
think
also
it's
a problem with sorry not to interrupt, but being in the Midwest is a lot of people don't travel outside the Midwest. Like me and Damien talk about like growing up like lower middle class and like it was like, well, we're all just shoving into the car and like going maybe to how far we can go in like an 8 hour range, which does
right,
not include the ocean, but
right.
we're going to Worlds of Fun. That's
That's
vacation for our
actually
family.
that's exactly what I thought of actually. But
I mean, maybe that's vacation for you. Vacation for me, back when I was a kid, or when my mom married my stepdad, was making reservations at a hotel 3 blocks away and using their pool. That was that was our vacation.
Damien's family doing staycations before it was cool. Fucking
Yeah,
hipster.
yeah, man. All staying in one fucking room, all of us.
Yeah. You got to sleep on the crusty carpet.
Yeah. We called it murder carpet. It was fun.
damn.
Anyways, all right, Christian, do you have any last questions in regards to the theme for Mike?
Um,
By the way,
I kind of
that answer was beautiful and
that
poignant.
yeah that
That's why I was
was
like,
great.
I don't have any more.
I kind of want to tie it in. I know you want to start going towards the music, Damien, but also throw it in of like Mike, when you travel, it sounds like you travel for music quite a bit. are people like when you're out in like, you know, Phoenix or Miami or LA or Portland kind of shocked by like how decent the Omaha music scene is?
That's a good question.
Long answer short, yeah, for sure. I think I still am, honestly,
Yeah.
and uh, and especially like even regionally, it's one of the best scenes in the entire Midwest region, and
I would
Yeah.
I
agree.
don't know, it's always so refreshing to get out and demonstrate that we know what we're doing too. So, uh,
Yeah.
but in my mind, growing up watching 311 make the thing happen,
Yeah.
like I've always known that it's a special place. There's some good energy here. There is that perspective where we're kind of like we don't think we're better than anyone else,
Hmm.
but we work at it. We're certainly just as good as anyone else.
Hmm.
And all these places, these that might seem extravagant to middle class kids growing up in the burbs, landlocked,
Yeah.
you know. But we work on our craft and we get influences from all over, and things just click. We're so
Hmm.
interconnected. I mean, ever since recording music became a thing, like you can listen to a reggae album, you can listen to Bob Marley. This is what Nick Exum said in these interviews. Like, how did you like get all these influences growing up in the Midwest? It's like, well, we have record stores, dude. Like, it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
We we
It's
listen
not
to
that
the
hard to
music,
find.
right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a mixture of just the our own beat here, our own vibe.
Hmm.
We because as much as you might like hate being stuck in your hometown, there's still some pride, and you clean your front porch and you stand by it, and you also like one of the best things about being in the Midwest is Nebraska nice. Like there's genuinely good fucking people here,
Yeah.
and it is a tight little community.
Yeah.
It's a big town, but it's a small city, and it still has like everyone knows everyone to a degree, you know,
Hmm.
Yeah, and I
and
think as far as music scene goes, like to echo what you're saying, is I think the reason why Omaha has such a great music scene is because we're not tied down to a specific thing. We have to be
yeah,
open minded because there is no
right,
such thing as, like West Coast is West Coast, East Coast is East Coast. You
Hmm.
have Nashville, you have all these places that have
right,
their
Yeah.
own select thing. You have the Dirty South, you have like all this stuff. We don't have anything that is like the Midwest sound. I mean, we have to be open minded. We have to be able to take resources and inspiration from everything around, not only just around the Midwest, but the United States and around the world. And when you look at it through that scope, that is a plethora of information to pull and deviate and
Hmm.
use to your advantage. And so when you don't have anything tying you down to a select thing, you can incorporate any and all of those things in any which way you want to create your own independent sound. And I think that's why the Omaha scene has always been so modern when it comes to the music scene, because we can do whatever we want. We've heard the West Coast stuff, we've heard the East Coast stuff, we've heard the
Yeah.
Dirty South, we've heard the obviously we have like the country. We can incorporate all of that into some version of country hip hop meets dirty, like we can do whatever we want. We can do rock and roll any way we want. I grew up with rap metal. I mean, like we can incorporate the heaviest of the two genres and mash them together. We can do whatever we want, and so I think that's the most important thing about the Midwest music scene for me.
yeah, you summed it up very well, man. I agree. I think that when I started really getting into recording, because also like I wanted to follow in 311's footsteps. That was dream
Mhm.
and vision and everything I wanted from the time that I saw them do their thing and knew that they were from here, making it big, doing everything you
Yeah.
just described. However, by the time I graduated high school, still had that drive and that vision, but we were on the cusp of this basically a revolutionary thing, which was the emergence of the home studio. We were recording
Mhm.
Yes.
fairly high quality stuff still in high school, and the technology was just only getting more and more convenient
Yeah.
and user friendly. So it was apparent between me and my guys who also wanted to do this with me that we didn't need to go out to LA to Hollywood to get a record contract. We already had what we needed in terms of becoming an artist and just record. And that's what we did. We just recorded as much and wrote, and we're just, I don't want to say masterless masters, but like we were self-taught, man, and like, and just
Yeah.
prolific at it. Like, it's amazing how many hours of music I own with my guys under my umbrella company, and I'm proud of that. And sure enough, like as you know, like record companies themselves are basically obsolete in terms of how
Yeah.
they used to operate.
Well, and I think the biggest part of that scenario is there's no one controlling what the final product is but you. You are the
Mhm.
artist. You deserve the final say. And I think a lot of times in studios, they might mix it different. They might have different ideas that you are then like, I'm not saying an outside perspective isn't welcome, but not everything should be um, somebody else's brainchild if they didn't put in the work. And when you're recording at home, because that's how all my bands, when I was in bands, that's the
Yeah.
only way we recorded anything was in the basement. You take a microphone, you hold it up to the fucking amplifier, and you record one track at a time. And now you're
Yeah.
free to mix and match and create however you envision it. And there's no one there being like, "Oh, I don't that part right there. I would change that." It's like, no, we're going to do exactly what we want to do. And that's when you really truly see inside the mind of the artist is when they're doing it themselves. And I think you're seeing that more and more, not just with music, but with things like podcasting, things like comedy, which we talk about
Mhm.
a lot on this podcast. I mean, comedians don't have to be involved in anything other than comedy now. They don't have
Yeah.
to try for a sitcom. They don't have to try for a movie or a TV franchise. They can just work on comedy and nothing else because they don't have to answer to anybody. And I think it's really a new like revolution of entertainment, and that's why I was so excited. Not just because we're friends, but that's why I was so excited to have you on, because I think I selfishly have really been wanting to talk about this shit, and so it's good to have somebody who I can bridge that gap with.
We're now
Um,
we're getting into it
but
now, and
yeah, man.
also may I say that was a hell of a segue from talking about Omaha, and now we're talking about
Yeah.
this whole freaking thing that we're experiencing, which is entertainment.
You're,
I don't want to even
which
say
is also
industry.
your come up.
Yeah.
You know,
To follow the segue, we're talking about your come up. We're talking about your passion, your brainchild, and the thing that you are passionate about outside of your family and music, or outside of your family and restaurants, rather,
right?
is your music. And
Of
being a
course.
fan and following your journey has been fucking
Yeah.
awesome. Um, when I met you,
That's amazing.
I didn't know really that you did anything with music. And at that point when we met, I wasn't doing anything with music either.
Yeah.
And so it was like passing ships in the night where not only were we friends because of the food business and because of like Lebowski and shit like that, we also
Dude,
had a few weeks to learn that, um, yeah, we're kind of involved in the music stuff. So that's really cool, man. Talk a little bit about your your music and your recordings and where you've been to put on shows, and I see you all over
Yeah.
the place.
absolutely. And, just also to kind of touch on the broader evolution of all of this that we were just mentioning, with the emergence of the social media aspect, like
Mhm.
not only can an independent artist create high quality products, they can find their people
Yeah. Yeah.
who want to listen and enjoy the art and be a fan. So it's all interconnected in ways that 20 years ago we were just, I don't even know if we were dreaming about this. It didn't even seem possible. Like I
Yeah.
started out
Imagine
like
trying to explain SoundCloud like 20 years ago. I think is a good example
it's a great example.
of like, or even just trying to like discover music. Like you had to go like, yes, it was great to have record stores like Homer's like downtown Omaha where you could find unique records, but like it
Still
was kind
thriving, by the
of,
way.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
With the revive, like I've been there recently because I'm a fucking hipster and love vinyl, but
But that's a good
of
thing.
of like trying to find new music was kind of interesting. It was just what Homer's had maybe, or like you really relying on them to find new music. And now I can just go to Spotify, which Spotify is good and bad depending on being an artist and whatnot. It has its own thing, but like I've
Don't remind me.
discover a new band every yes with your 0.0001 cent. But also probably exposes you to a lot of people. Like I listen to a new band almost every day because I find like, yeah, these small bands that I would never find on my own, but it pops up on a playlist, which I hope is the case for you. Like, you're more easily discoverable, right? And it just takes one thing to hit,
Oh yeah.
and then that's it.
No, it's a magical thing, and yes, there's plenty to be discussed about the compensation and that kind of thing, the business side of it, the market, but as far as the technology and the distribution, like even just these 7 years ago, Damien, when we first met, like I didn't have any of that shit on Spotify.
Yep.
May have been some SoundCloud, but at that time, like I'm still burning CDs for you, homie. Like, but now, like, which I'm
Yeah.
still all about. Like, that's how we did it back in the day. Like, and that was, I remember when I got a CD-ROM burner to install in my mom's gateway. Like
Yeah.
it was just like, and I recorded my own audio onto the computer and then burned it to a CD. Like that was life changing. But that's how we got it out. I would burn a shitload of CDs and even get a barcode on it and put it in Homer's.
Yeah.
That's still a thing. But now, like you mentioned, your vinyl collector, which I love that's become such a niche. It's
Mm-hmm.
super important. But like before, I would have to burn 100, 500 CDs,
Yeah.
or go to like a service like CD Baby and like drop some cash to get a stack of them made for yourself. Which I still love that part of this journey. But now it's like it's for the collector who wants a physical copy could still get that done.
Mm-hmm.
But the streaming thing, it's untapped potential. I think I don't know. We don't have to get into it now, but the whole AI debacle and that kind of aspect might
Oh
be
yeah.
more noteworthy to debate rather than just these pennies on the dollar, fractions of pennies on the stream on the song.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, um, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have it any other way. But I think things will work
I
out, and what needs to happen will happen. I'm just going to continue to make the art.
Yeah, and I,
You
I
go.
think me and Damien will both say this. We love live music. There's just
Right.
something so different. Like, of course, I love listening to songs on my headphones, but like when you can just feel the bass shake your chest, kind of thing.
Right.
Like, and you're there with, because like sometimes listening to music is just such a solo activity, right? You're by yourself.
Mhm.
Maybe you're in your car alone, or like you just have it going through your headphones. But then like you get to go to a place where there's hundreds of other people who are there to listen. And it's just kind of a cool community thing, right? Of like,
Definitely.
and just experience it live and to support the artist is another big reason I love to go. It's like, hey, you mean so much to me. Going back to Spotify, I'm like, I'm not paying. This is how I'm trying to be like, hey, thank you for this. I'm buying a ticket because like you are a part of my life.
Right.
Yeah, and one of the things to go on with what Christian is saying is Abby and I have made it a regular occurrence where I will search through social medias, mostly like Instagram, but I will go through Instagram in the search of artists that I've never heard before in hopes of finding ones that are not yet popped. They haven't popped, they're not super known, and then I will go on and find them on either Spotify or SoundCloud or whatever their promotion is. I'll go and watch it, and then I'll immediately get online and see if they're coming to LA or anywhere close to me. And then Abby and I make it a mission. We try to go to at least one live show a month. Whether it's a super popular band or a band that we just discovered online, doesn't matter. But we try to go to a show a month because it's just so important now that there's not a lot of physical media anymore. That was the way that bands made their music. That's how they got their names out there, is word of mouth and people grabbing these physical copies and playing it and then burning it and sharing it with friends and all. You don't have that anymore. So really all you can try to do is create that one, that one hook or that one line of the show of the song that'll get you notarized on the internet that will drive people to your shows. And so I think maybe that would be my one request to anybody listening is go out of your comfort zone, try to find new music, try to find artists that aren't being played on the radio, try to find artists that aren't selling out arenas, try finding artists who are just doing it because they love it. They're not in it for the paycheck. They're not in it for notoriety. They're doing it because they love it. You'll never find a better, more intimate live experience than that, which is why it's fun following Mike V here on social media. It's a fun thing to see. I know we're getting to the end here, and we're all we want to get you out of here because you got big stuff going on. But I did want to ask real fast if there was one song that you could. Oh, okay. Well, all right. I guess I'll just finish what I was saying though, and then we'll see if we keep going.
Yeah.
If there was one song, one of your songs that you would want people to hear, what would it be?
That's a good one.
Out of the many that are written already and recorded, there's, of course, I was considering this before our show, before our interview started here. I think a good introduction would be Here or Gone from the Vicious Cycle EP, me being Mike Vicious, of course. And that one just kind of clicked for me that whole album was fun to record. And I started it in late 2010 and had it all done by summer of 2012, but I just sat on it. There's a lot of personal stuff on that record about addiction, for instance, primarily, like just kind of mental health issues. Also, that reminds me, I want to give a shout out to King ISO and Tech Nine, talking about some independent heroes from Omaha and Kansas City. So, sidebar. But yeah, man, Here or Gone. I actually sample the drum riff from Two Skinny J's "You're a Champion," if you're familiar, and I whistle on it, and I just like loop my whistle, and then the drums kick in and the bass kicks in, and they're scratching on it, and maybe some keys. It's kind of got an old school vibe to it, and then the real drum samples gives it that feeling. And I 100% agree with what you just said about the live shows. Like that's what really makes this all come together and making it these events that become part of our lives. And yeah, that song Here or Gone, I like to kick that one live too. I think it's got all the components that you might want, with this interesting build up of the beat itself, and then a catchy hook that's also kind of clever um, in the verbiage, and I don't know. I'm proud of it. It's a good one. Check it out.
That's fantastic. And I was gonna ask if we have your permission, and if you don't mind, maybe we could take that song and maybe use it as the outro to this song, as use it as an outro to this episode, rather.
Oh, I think that would fit very well, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful.
Do it.
We'll add that. We'll add
This
that
one's
on
on the
to
house.
the end. We'll add that one on to the end as the outro, so people can kind of get to know you from an artistic level. And I guess I know I'm bogarting the mic here real fast, Christian, but
You are
real
definitely
fast.
you dick.
Yeah, real fast. Since we're gonna use that as an outro, can you give just a quick couple sentences of why, like, what is it about that song? I know you kind of gave it, but what do you want people to know about that song before they listen to it?
Well, I like it. It stands alone, like as a single, if you will, but it's also part of the greater whole that
Mm.
is that Vicious Cycle LP, which is just a deep part of my personal history. And you know, we kind of sidestepped when you talked about like my coming. We can maybe circle back if we got a minute to
Mm.
how I started doing this and playing these shows, and I touched on a couple of the groups that I'm with, but um, this is a solo project too, so it's been kind of interesting to be a solo artist, and also I don't just do hip hop. Like I've always wanted to make all kinds of music.
Mhm.
Must be that Midwest thing, but I always wanted to make a jazz record and a reggae record, and I love hip hop, and being a Three
Yeah.
Leg fan is just naturally hybrids. But I love I love folk music. I want to do an acoustic record, and they'll just regular old rock and roll. And um, I guess about the song "Here or Gone," it kind of does touch on some of those influences in the sound, um, specifically because of those drums that I sampled, and then uh, I think the verses kind of discuss just a day in the life of sorts, just it's kind of metaphysical in the fact that I'm talking about hip hop music, and
Mm.
I think at the time it had been a while since I did a show, and then I had just done a show, and I referenced that in the first verse that a stage in a hip hop show has been a vacation, and um, but I think the chorus is my favorite part. I say, microphone check, is this thing on? Am I really here or am I gone? So, and then it's hard to tell because some days are crazy, some days it's hard to tell. So, Here or Gone is the title of the track, and it's
Mhm.
you ever have those like out of body experiences or like these moments where you're like you're thinking about things too much and it's like, is this actually happening?
Mhm.
And it's kind of a trip, you know.
Almost every day.
So that's why I feel like the lyrics of the song are so relatable. And
Yeah,
That's fucking awesome, dude.
that is cool.
um, so I don't know, it's one of my faves, and it also like it goes over well. Everyone I played it for really loves it, so that makes me feel good.
Hell yeah.
Makes me want to keep doing the thing.
Yeah, and it sounds
That's why I
like
chose it.
with your music, and Damien, correct me if I'm wrong with this podcast, it's almost therapeutic, right? To talk like
Oh,
about
big
these things. You said like some of your songs are about like addiction and stuff. So it's just like your way, I don't want to say of coping, but me and Damien joke like this is our therapy because we're white guys from the Midwest, so we can't do that, actually go to therapy. But it's
Wow,
a way to express ourselves and like also get not get over, but like it is something therapeutic about it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, don't get it twisted. It is just that. Just because it's not like technical or clinical, like this is what
Yeah.
friends are for. And we we talk things out and we get down to the nitty gritty of it, man. And it's all about the connection. You know, I think,
yeah,
especially with mental health issue, addiction, whatever, there's a lot of isolation that you suffer through, and you forget how important you are to other people. And you know, as an artist, because that's one thing I wanted to mention too, is, you know, I make film and paintings too. Like, I do visual art. I'm a drawer, and went to the University of Iowa for such thing. I went to the University of Iowa to get the fuck out of Council Bluffs. I had to take classes though to stay at the University of Iowa, and I was in the film school, and of course I had, anywhere I went, I had my own studio, and so I've always been making these soundtracks and stuff. But I think, like Bruce Lee said, martial arts is self-expression. The emphasis on the arts part, you know, that's all we're doing is expressing ourselves and communicating with each other.
Yeah.
So I think there's a whole vibe shift going on, and it's generational, and it's our time to shine as 80s babies, especially. Like, we're the new leaders coming up, and right now it's not a world of competition anymore. It's a community, by and large.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about music, because it's all about harmonizing, you know? Even, like, that's the mentality of this local scene here in Omaha. It's, we're not out here trying to outshine each other. A rising tide lifts all ships. So we're really about supporting each other, even if you're not necessarily into what the other guy's doing. Someone out there is, and we want them to find their people. So it's difficult, you know, and then, like we were talking about earlier, like, what the fuck is success? You have to define that for yourself. And I think the only failure is not going for it, dude. So after all this time, I'm excited to say that I'm still going for it, and I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
Period.
The dude abides.
Mic drop. Is that like some Eastern thing?
That's far from it, man.
I like your style, dude.
Man, I don't know. I think that was.
I think that was a full circle moment there for this podcast.
I think
this episode.
Yeah, that's as poignant and as clean of a wrap up as I think we're gonna get. So I think.
Well, you know, one thing we mentioned on the phone earlier, Damien, is maybe we'll have to do a follow up episode and kind of circle back and see where things go.
We'll absolutely do a follow up. My request is that you get a microphone.
It's still not sounding good after all this? I thought it was better.
No. I would say for me, the camera would be...
I've only been rendering at 54% this whole time, so that's an issue.
Yeah.
I think next time we do this, and there will be a next time, I'll do it in my studio. I'll have my gear, and man, I hope that for all these gems I just dropped, that the audio is clear enough for the people to understand what the fuck I'm saying.
We'll fix it in post if it isn't.
We'll figure it out. We'll get it all put together, and we'll make sure that this is. It sounds as good as it was in the moment, because I think there's a lot of gems in this. I think, despite this being predominantly a comedy podcast, because that's really the only way Christian and I deal with our trauma is through comedy.
Yes.
Despite this being a predominantly comedy podcast, I think this was quite poignant and therapeutic, and I think there's a lot of gems that a lot of people, not just artists, but anyone who has the pleasure of listening to this episode might pull something useful from it. And so I feel really grateful that you were here to drop that knowledge on us, and I think the time has come to play your song, and wish everybody a good day, and thanks for stopping by. And check out Mike on social media. You want to do one more social media plug?
I do want to say, and a good day to you, sir.
Do you have anything?
Yes. Thank you for coming on the podcast, man. It's been great.
My pleasure. We could talk all day, you know?
End it with your social media plugs and any concert dates you have.
I got nothing on the books right now. I'm been revamping my new home studio, and also I mentioned the art thing too. Like, so I've actually kind of leaned into the visual art, and that does remind me I have a couple Instagram pages that you might be interested in. The Real Mike Vicious, I mentioned, that's kind of my go-to
Shout him out.
for music. So at the Real Mike Vicious, and then also Vicious Visuals, which is VICIOUS, and then it's Visuals, VISUALZ. So all one word there.
Nice.
And then
Beautiful. Check him out on Spotify.
Yeah, hook up Spotify. Check me out on TikTok before the government tries to shut it down. And
Yeah.
and Facebook too is a good way to reach me. I do have the artist formerly known as Twitter, but I don't really fuck around with it. But Mike Vicious 311. Yeah. Just, I don't know, Google me, bitch.
You heard it here, folks.
Google him, bitch.
Google him, bitch. All right, now enjoy this tune from the very own Mike Vicious. Thanks again, buddy.
Love you guys.
Love you.